Hello everyone and welcome to the Journey to Grandmaster series, and today I have one game to show, and it starts off with a d4, knight f6, bishop f4, g6, h3. This move is kinda useless, it doesn't do anything, it's a waste of tempo. Bishop g7, so I'm kinda going for a King's Indian defense type setup against a London system. So e3, London system setup is achieved, and here I go d5 to take up the center because he wasn't really fighting for the center by playing something like knight c3 and then playing e4. He didn't want to take the center, so I take it for myself. He plays c4, challenging the d5 pawn, and I just castle because it's actually better if he takes. And instead of playing a c4 London, a London I usually play with c4, instead of playing a c4 type London, my opponent plays c5, and this is actually kind of a mistake, and this allows me to play b6, attacking it, and if I am able to achieve b takes c5, d takes c5, my bishop scope is opened and I'm basically winning. And he plays b4 trying to protect the pawn. And here I play a bad move, knight c6, or a mistake. And the reason why I played this move was to provoke b5. But a better move here would actually be knight e4, putting pressure on this pawn on c5 and restricting the knight's development. Another move here would actually be to take on c5, b takes c5, according to the engine, and then to put the knight on d7. But I actually calculated here that if I do take, how am I supposed to open up the bishop scope? So I didn't know how to open up the bishop scope, so I didn't play b takes. So I play a mistake, hoping, forcing him to play b5. And b5 is played, best to move, and now knight a5, potentially going to c4. And the point of this was to threaten the c5 pawn again, because again, if I'm able to take and takes, I'm basically winning with the scope. And he plays the best move, which is c6, and the point of this move is to restrict the bishop and to protect the c6 pawn. I meant the c5 pawn that was being attacked, to protect it by pushing it. This also locks down the c7 pawn as a weakness and restricts my queen. I then play a6, attacking the b5 pawn, and he plays a4 defending, and now I play knight e4, and the point of knight e4 is to restrict the knight from developing to c3 and protecting his pawns. But instead he plays knight d2, which is a mistake, and it's a mistake due to knight takes, which was played in the game, queen takes, and here I was supposed to play knight b3, but I played too fast. And I missed this. I missed that I win a rook. I missed it. And another move I could have played if I missed knight b3 would be e5, and then something like d takes, but then b3 is still available. So I played way too fast. That's why my time goes up by 10 seconds. I'm playing 15:10. I played too fast and played the mistake knight c4. Immediately attacking the queen, having an outpost here. He goes queen c1. And now I play e5. And after d takes e5, knight takes e5, I'm threatening a discovered attack on his rook. And here he plays rook a2. And here I calculated queen e7 going to be 4, but I don't know why I didn't play that. I calculated a whole sequence with a takes b5, which is actually a mistake, and I played a takes b5 because I saw bishop takes, which was played in the game, bishop a6, and here I was hoping he would take my bishop and I can play rook a6, potentially playing b5 in the future, and going after the c6 pawn. But instead my opponent plays rook c2, which is a mistake, and the only thing stopping my knight from winning his queen is this bishop, so I take his bishop, and now pawn takes, And because he doesn't have a bishop stopping this fork, I win his queen, and he resigns the game. Okay, we actually have game 2. I know I said earlier that I have one game to show you guys, but I changed my mind because I actually played a lot of matches, and this one was actually very interesting to me because he was 130 points rated higher, but he didn't play like it. And I just wanted to show this match. It starts off with e4, c6, bishop c4, d5. So I go into a Caro-Kann, and this is my favorite variation to play against because white loses tempo by playing his bishop to c4 because his bishop is easily attacked. So e takes d5, c takes d5, bishop back to b3, knight c6, he plays d4, I play knight f6, he plays c3, protecting the pawn and trying to get his bishop out from the edge of the board here because it's basically useless. And here I play bishop f5, taking the light squares away from the bishop. h3 is played for no reason. Like, why would I play bishop g4 after I already played it on f5? h3 does nothing. And now I play e6, getting ready to take the dark squares away from this bishop. And that's why white should have played bishop f4. And a main theme of the exchange Caro is you actually fight for the dark squares by playing bishop d6, and then you trade and castles. But instead of playing bishop f4 trying to fight for the dark squares in my position, he plays knight f3, and I just take the dark squares for free because his bishop can never come down anymore. And now he plays castles, and here I play h6 because I know his bishop cannot develop to any good squares because my bishop controls all the dark squares that the bishop would love to control. So I play h6, completely restricting this bishop, and instead of playing a different move, he tries to develop his bishop, and now his bishop is worth a pawn because this bishop is basically a pawn here. It's just a pawn chain. It's not really a bishop here. And here I just castle. Bishop b to d2 is played, developing his knight. And I play a6, getting ready for a minority attack on the queen side by moving my rook to potentially c8, b4, b5, and just creating weaknesses on the queen side. And here he plays the early c4, which is a mistake. And here I should play rook c8, anticipating the open c file if he ever takes. And instead of that, I play d takes. And my knight could potentially go to d5 at some point if it wants. Knight takes c4, and here I should have played rook c8 because the c file is open. And if he were to ever take, queen can take, replacing the bishop in controlling the dark squares. And I also have pressure on the d4 pawn. But instead, I was scared of losing my strong dark squared bishop, so I go to c7, trying to restrict the knight, because the knight can't really come anywhere into my position. And he plays knight h4, which does absolutely nothing because I played h6 earlier, and this allows my bishop to retreat. A better move here for me would be bishop e4, and this basically asks white, what are you going to do about this bishop? Because let's say he plays f3, booting the bishop. Now his king side is weak, and my dark squared bishop is even stronger. I can just drop back. And let's say in this position he tries to attack my bishop. I can just plop into his position and potentially drop back to the queen side or to the king side. It's basically a nuisance here. He cannot boot it because I always have h7. But instead I play bishop h7 very quickly. And here he plays the blunder queen d2. And here I played b5 immediately, which is the second best move. And after I played b5, I was like, wait a minute. Couldn't I have played knight e4 winning his knight? But b5 is played. The point of this is basically the knight doesn't have any good squares to go to. And I can probably win a pawn here, put pressure, if he ever retreats his knight to here. Instead, my opponent plays another blunder, and sacrifices his bishop. Now mind you, this guy is rated 130 points higher than me. And there's many moves here like knight e4, attacking the queen, and attacking the knight at the same time, attacking his bishop and his knight. Like 4 pieces are hanging, so knight e4 is the best move. You can just take his bishop, queen takes. That's also one of the best moves. I played the third best move, which is just taking the knight for free. He takes my g7 pawn, my king takes, and he has no attack on my king. For example, let's say my opponent plays queen g5 check, I have king h8, and I'm completely safe. But after king takes g7, my opponent plays bishop takes c4, and here, you know how I said I missed knight e4 earlier? Well, in this position I did not miss knight e4, and I used it to attack the queen and his knight, and he cannot defend it, because my bishop controls the dark squares. So he plays queen e3, and I just take his knight because it's free, and here he plays bishop d3. Here I was calculating this line, bishop f4, and here the best move for white is actually to sacrifice his queen, because he's getting mated if he doesn't. Here I thought, oh, what if he goes queen e1, and I couldn't see anything else after this. I couldn't calculate another move after that. I was like, oh, what if knight takes? But the move is actually to go knight g5, threatening checkmate by taking the pawn with check and blasting open his king side. But I didn't see after bishop f4, queen e1 what to do after, so I didn't play bishop f4. I actually played knight g5 immediately, trying to create checkmate threats. And instead of playing bishop takes h7 and stuff like that, the best move would be bishop f4 again, attacking the queen, then taking back, I think. Instead of all of that, he plays rook ac1, trying to attack my minor pieces, but this does nothing. And then again, bishop f4 is the best move in this position, basically taking the rook that's attacking my knight. But instead, I play the third best move, which is taking his bishop, queen takes, and then I play queen f4 attacking his rook, but I'm threatening checkmate. Also, this rook isn't in any danger because he has another rook defending it, but I'm threatening checkmate. And here I was hoping he'd play something like g3, so my knight can come in and I can win the game. Another move he could play is queen g3, and then now my knight is coming in, and let's say rook takes. I can play knight e2, winning his queen. Or let's say queen takes, bishop takes, attacking his rook. And I'm basically also threatening to win his rook twice here with a fork. And this position is actually very strong due to the fact that I'm up three major pieces here, and he only has 2 rooks. But in this position, my opponent plays f3, which actually makes me win on the spot. It's now mate in 2. So knight takes, pawn takes, and I play queen h2 checkmate. And that's how this ended against a 1540 rated player. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. If you liked this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Have a nice day, and peace out.